Now I'm going to put in the neckband, and I mark the front for that, and then I equally mark the back, because that's where I'm just gonna also mark my neckband, and then I can just put it in and it'll work beautifully. So pick up your neckband. You can iron it lengthways in half after you folded it, and the right side has to be to the outside because it's not going to be turned or anything. And then we're going to take the front tips and overlap them by 3 centimeters altogether, so 1.5 to either side. If you take a little bit more or less, it doesn't really matter too much actually. And make sure that you secure this. You can do that on the sewing machine, or you can do a few hand stitches, that's up to you. There we go. Over to the sewing machine, and we're just going to secure that quickly. There we go. I'm holding it down with a pin. Move around. Now that we've stitched this little bit in the front, you might want to just quickly pull this over the head of your child and see how easy it goes over, because that will inform how much you have to stretch it once it's pinned into the neck hole. Now this is a super tip. Actually, when I started researching the rompers, it was my friend Ella who takes our lovely photographs, and she said this is what you have to do. She found out, she just went through this article, which was really great, and one of the things that stuck in her mind and mine as well was that if you stretch the outside before you even start and steam it, it's way easier to put in. It's so simple. And it works so well. You can already see that that will sit nicely in the neckline. It just goes out a little bit. Give us a little bit of a steam again. And of course, depending on what fabric you use, it will stretch more or less. But if you have like 100% cotton, it will really stretch. My fabric didn't stretch so much. Now I'm finding the center here as well. So I put the center front of the neckband on the center front of the body of the romper, and I do the same at the back. So the romper has to be turned inside out. Right here, I hadn't marked it. See, I wish I'd listened to my own advice sometimes, you know. A little snip there, and that goes on to the back. And because we've stretched it quite a lot, you will find that you don't have to hold in as much. It makes it much easier to go in, and you're much less likely to have one of those really stretched necklines. Now you always want to sew from the inside of whatever it is you're pinning. So you want to put your pins in now on the inside so that you can remove them as you go. There we go. Never pin from the other side. There we are. Just like put that in, and you can see how little you have to stretch this. It's almost edge to edge, isn't it? It's just brilliant. I really took some pains over this, because actually the one thing that I always see, and that my friend Ella always pointed out as well, is that the necklines can look so horrible, and I didn't want to do a romper pattern which would not give you a really nice neckline if you follow these steps. So I hope I've achieved it and you can get like a really nice result on your romper. Now when I sew this in, I'm using the triple stitch. That is the stitch with the 3 lines next to each other on your sewing machine. Now here you do really need to stretch the fabric, because if you don't, you might end up with a neck hole that is a little bit too small. So you want to stretch it a little bit. I'm working on about this neck hole being about 12 centimeters smaller than the actual head. So we need to stretch that amount. Obviously when it goes over, and it's easily achieved, you have the triple stitch and you stretch it a bit, it'll be fine. But if you don't stretch it, it might not go over as easily, and kids don't like it when it gets stuck around the head. You know, they will protest. And then whatever you have stretched, you steam back in. and that's the main technique here. Always steam back in. So when you see that at the inner edge of your neckband there's like a little bit extra, like this here for example, you can see it, you steam that in. So I don't want to see any of these stretched necklines here, because you know you have got all the tools now to do it right. And when you come to the front, because the tips overlap, it will pull the neckline in anyway a little bit, so it should all be good. Make sure that the seam is pointing in the romper as you press it, and that is basically it. And I hope that you're really pleased with your necklines as well. We are ready to close the side seams next.